So,
And we are back with Tech Talks 8. I'm Victor with here with Julie.
hello.
And we are here to discuss. It's been actually a pretty busy week in the tech world. So,
Do I know all of the things?
you probably know some of them, but we will.
So maybe you'll update those at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. My first question is, how do I convert PDFs to be editable, or at least so I can copy, paste it, and then go from there?
So there's a couple ways to do that. There are Word programs like Word that can open up PDFs, but oftentimes the formatting gets screwy if it's trying to open it up and be editable. And then there's also the Adobe Reader, which will allow you to adjust and edit PDFs. However, there is a difference between a PDF that's generated from like Word and one that is just scanned in. So if there's a document that was just scanned from a copier, and
it has watermarks. No, this is like firsthand the things I've been.
And it has watermark. Then, yeah, those that would not be as editable like through those programs.
Oh. Okay.
You would have to do some creative stuff too.
I've been using voice to text and reading, because sometimes I have to include part of a report from a different therapist, and so I have to like put in quotes verbatim what they put, but sometimes it's like over a page long and I'm only given the PDF, and it's scanned and it's got, so this is something that I'd really love to be able to do, but
there are online there's online like conversion things.
It's also confidential stuff, so I can't just upload it onto one of these online ones. Did you say Adobe has a
Adobe has a convert, like a Adobe Reader. I don't remember if it has a converter to we would probably have to look that up and see. But it does have like the Adobe editor. Adobe, I guess, is the proper way to say it. But it does have the Adobe editor that you can edit PDFs with. I'd have to check to see if it can get converted.
So that I could say that last part again.
The Adobe editor, seeing if it could get converted.
So when you say it gets converted, what is it getting converted to? Like
usually a text document or a Word document
that you can then copy and paste from.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, like if it's something that's scanned in, that's a lot. It's a very different circumstance.
All right. Oh, how about internet speeds, brands, ownership? I'm kind of curious to know a little more about why certain ones are the only internet available in that area.
Okay, so this is a bit of a long one when it comes to the internet brands. So, long time ago, essentially, the internet brands made a deal with the government entities
There's just a couple of main ones, right?
This was before it was like a whole, like there was a decent amount. Like there was, I can't remember. There was a good handful, and they ended up working government contracts for exclusivity on their lines that they have. So they'll be able to put up lines and be the only ones that use them for their internet broadband, or when it was coming out. And the government, these exclusivity clauses allowed them to, or made it almost impossible for another shop to come, or another internet provider to come in and commandeer the space or even be competitive, because there's also there was a lot of anti-competitive laws and things that were allowed. And what ended up happening is one once the networking got laid out, a lot of the companies ended up working together to just not compete over territory. They split up territories,
so they can monopolize an area, but not.
Yeah, and so they're technically not monopolizing the U.S., but they are monopolizing an area. And then eventually they merged, a lot of them merged together, and there's only just like a few.
I know AT&T,
yeah,
Verizon.
Or AT&T is
they're actually under a different umbrella.
I'm Warner.
Comcast?
No, Comcast I think is I think Verizon might be Comcast. I'd have to double check that. But essentially Comcast, which I can't remember the umbrella for Comcast. AT&T, which I think is Time Warner, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that. Hold on.
Yeah, you have me curious. I found
AT&T bought Time Warner, so AT&T is the bigger. So it's like AT&T, Comcast, and I can't remember the other. But like, yeah, those are the major competitors, and then there's people leeching off of those lines, but they generally have a monopoly over the area that they're in. So, and yeah,
it's frustrating. A lot.
The way around it is through, well, I mean, there's no real way around it, but satellites have been helping out, like but even then, like DirecTV is AT&T essentially. Like AT&T works with DirecTV to promote their packaging deals and whatnot. So you're still under like the same people.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand how it even works properly. So there are cables.
Yes.
Wires, either mostly connected via the poles above ground, right? Or some is underground, like under the ocean.
Depends on where you are. Yeah, they do have cables running under the ocean, but generally depends on where you are. Like when I was out in Michigan, a lot of the cable lines were above ground for the majority of it, but then once it got to the neighborhoods, they just put it underground. But around here they have in California they just have it all above ground,
like with the telephone wires.
Yeah,
so they're different from telephone wires though, or
yes, they used to be internet, like dial-up used the telephone wires.
Okay, and then there was an updated, that I made a note when you were talking, you said broadband. I was like, I haven't heard that word in so long. Is broadband like the next step up from?
So let me just get the definition right here.
Because I know I remember dial-up. I remember that slow process and that sound. Okay.
Broadband, the actual definition is a wide bandwidth data transmission. Essentially, yeah, it has more bandwidth than
dial-up was like a skinny little bandwidth, and then this
dial-up. The phone lines were not designed for the amount of information that was going through them, essentially. So the broadband expanded upon that, and then you have fiber optic.
That was another one on here that I was gonna ask about. So fiber optic is a similar kind of cable, just a different style.
Yeah, it's still a broadband cable. There is here. So the main cables like that you will see is the coaxial cable.
What is a coax?
That's that a thick cable with that little line that you used to use for your TVs all the time, but now you put it into the box, the cable box, and then the cable box does everything.
Cable box? Like if you have cable.
If you have cable.
Okay.
And it also goes to your modem too at your house.
I need to put that. Hold on a second. I'm just more questions. Hold on. Modem versus. I didn't realize modems and routers were different things until just the other day. But we'll get back to that. We're already in the middle of a string of questions I've got here for you. So, okay. What about the cabled internet versus satellite? Those are the main two, right?
So, well, you have the cabled internet, which is the coaxial cable, but then you also have the fiber optic cable.
Oh, they're two different.
Those are two different cable types.
Okay. So coaxial, fiber optic, and then satellite. Those are three main kinds of internet.
Generally, yeah. The satellite is, when it comes to internet, I believe they're radio signals. I have to double check. But yeah, the satellite.
And so there are inherent cons to using that kind.
So yeah, with satellite, it's gotten a lot better over the years. I used to work at DirecTV. It's gotten really good over the years. Even the hotel, we had DirecTV at the hotel that was, it was one satellite sending the signal to a box, and this box fed it to
all of the rooms,
all 50 rooms that we had at the hotel. So, and if it was a particularly stormy day out, people would complain that it was probably not the same quality, but very few cut in and cut out situations like people have exclaimed. Also, the satellites, a lot of people have talked about the satellites being so huge, but now they're just like a little bit bigger than a dinner plate. Like, wow. They're not that crazy too.
And so satellite will continue to get better too. That makes sense.
It will continue to get better, but it still just will never be as reliable as a hardwired cable, and that's the problem. And then also the speeds, like.
Sorry, I don't understand how this list app works. Apparently, go on. Sorry.
The speeds will continue to grow, but the speeds on the cable will always be faster. And so if you are doing anything very intensive, that would end up needing to have a hardwire.
Okay. So, okay, the other day, I already forgot what it stands for. VPN. I was using my phone and you said something about a VPN. What is that again?
Okay. So with you, what we have on Google is a VPN. Let's just start with that. VPN is a virtual private network. Essentially, well, let's bring in layman's terms. So when we have a internet that at our house, we have the internet come to our house, and we have a modem that handles that. And then we have a bunch of devices connected to that modem via our router, right? So you have the overall internet and then all of our little devices on one network on our Wi-Fi. Everything on our Wi-Fi is on our local network. That is a private network. So if anybody is monitoring us, they would only be able to see, unless they were inside our network, they would only be able to see what's going in and out of our network from the bigger internet point of view. They wouldn't be able to see which of our devices are actually getting what source of information.
Okay.
Right. So that's what a virtual private network is taking that idea and create it, but not limited to the range of your Wi-Fi. It's just creating a little private network so that your internet, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to be a bit safer because nobody can pin down your particular phone.
Why? like, why, what?
So Google has now initiated that if you're on the Google Fi project or Google Fi network, and you have, I think it might be limited to pixels, but it might not. I don't know for sure. But if you're on the Google Fi network, you'll get an offering to use their virtual private network, which essentially it's like a built-in private network through the ecosystem.
That was it. I got a prompt on my screen that asked me if I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I asked you, and you're like, yeah, virtual private network, go for it. And I just, okay. Okay. I remember now. Okay. And so that is something that potentially other phone providers could do down the road, but at this point, we know Google does it.
Yeah, we know Google.
Okay. And it's just a little bit of increased security. I like that. How about calls over the internet? So I have been really frustrated lately. I call my mom, or my mom calls me, and here we are, it's 2019. Internet works fine, sending text messages, no problem all day, but whenever we try to call each other, the quality is as if we are trying to talk on like the worst cell phone, under a rock, way back a couple decades. Like, I don't understand why these are called phones still, but the phone calls are terrible. And it's I'm going on now.
So with you and your mom's particular case, I'm pretty sure when we were there, you didn't get much signal.
Yeah, it's because she lives in a rural area right by the lake. She has this problem where sometimes she bounces off of towers in Canada, because I guess it like bounces off the lake. It used to be a problem with, they'd say we were roaming, and it's like, no, we're still in the United.
So that's probably the majority of your problem, because you just had a call with your dad and you didn't have any issues outside of. Yeah,
and why did that? So I was talking on the phone to my dad. Victor turned on the TV, and all of a sudden the phone call quality dropped drastically. Why did that happen?
So what I am assuming happened is I was streaming YouTube to the Chromecast.
TV, yeah, okay.
And part of being on Google Fi is whenever you're connected to the internet, it'll make your phone calls based off of your internet connection, not your cellular connection.
Is there any advantage to that?
Generally, your Wi-Fi is going to be stronger than the mobile network.
Unless you're trying to do something else simultaneously, like streaming a video.
Yes, I mean, we have a fast enough internet that it shouldn't have been an issue. I'm wondering if it was more the router not being able to simultaneously do that over Wi-Fi. But yeah, that was it. It was just like the bandwidth was being taken up.
It could just be me. You know how technology just... I mean, we went to start the podcast today and the whole computer just went black right before.
But again, that was also... I just had it on all week.
Maybe. Are you supposed to turn your computer off like at a regular interval on a daily? I thought you were supposed to leave it on generally.
So computers in general, like unless you have a battery on your computer, there's no real harm to keeping it on. It like generally most processes are designed to clear out caches automatically and stuff like that.
So you would restart your computer to clear out the cache.
Sometimes some things get buggy, and if your computer's on too long and it has a program that's not properly executing
in some funk,
then and you might not notice for a while until eventually like the computer just crashes. There also could be some sort of hardware problem or something like that you don't notice because it doesn't happen until the computer's been on for a long time. There's a lot of different things to diagnose. But in general, like if you have a perfectly healthy computer, it's not gonna hurt it to keep it on.
Is there an advantage to turning it off every day? Not really?
I mean, not really. Like
not with solid state drives, anyways, right? Or do all laptops have solid state drives?
No, not all laptops have solid state drives.
Most newer ones do.
thin ones, you could say that have probably a solid state drive.
So if it was what is it called, a hard drive?
Hard drive, yeah.
If it was a hard drive, you would want to turn it off before you transport it, yeah?
Yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, sleep mode also essentially does the same thing. It stops the hard drive from moving. Like, but when it comes to laptops, you also want to make sure that you're turning it off for the battery preservation. Because if it's a desktop, then you don't really need to worry about it.
My work computer, granted, it's a brand new Apple. I haven't turned it off since I turned it on in August. So we are now in what, April? It's been on a while.
Yeah, but you close. It's not just on, like, this is.
I don't leave it open. So I like closing it.
Yeah, like hibernating, sleep mode, the different modes that they do, like those are all helpful to preserve the computer. And
yeah, I guess you should update it regularly. Right.
You definitely should have be doing the software updates when they ask for it. You in particular have the OS update, which is not as big of a factor because I think that you still will get the updates for the security updates. I'd have to double check with Apple on that one, but the otherwise, yeah, as long as you're doing security updates. I know right now you have a Chrome update, the browser update, which you have been neglecting, and that is actually more, if not, it's very important to do those.
Okay, after this, we'll do that. Okay, so along the same phone call line, I know Google has something where through the internet without a phone or a paid private internet to your phone. What is that?
The Google Voice.
That's it, Google Voice. You can get a phone number through that. Is that any more reliable? Any better coverage?
So Google Voice is kind of a interesting service. So it doesn't use it's only internet based. So you can only use it if you have internet.
So my mom could call from her house though, and she's got internet at her house. It could potentially be a better connection than the phone through
potentially if she has a strong enough internet connection, strong enough Wi-Fi, then yeah, she could potentially do that. And but I don't remember how the monetization works on that, because I know there is some monetization.
Like they advertise to you when you're calling?
No.
What do you mean?
You have to pay for
a Google Voice phone number?
I think you can get the phone number for free, and I think you can call like other internet phones, but when you're calling another provider, it might be. I'd have to look up how the internet works on that, or how how they charge.
I give you a lot to look up. I'm sorry. Let's see. Why we did that? We talked about that. We also talked about that. Oh, don't remember. Go there. Oh, the modem versus router. So you kind of a little bit said something about comes to the modem and then the router routes it.
Yeah.
To devices.
Essentially, like, so a modem is just the communication between the internet provider and your house. It gives your house an IP address, which is essentially the internet address.
Is that the part that the companies often will like loan or rent to you?
Yes. Well, we'll get to that later. They oftentimes send you a modem router combo.
That was another question I had. Can you combine them? Why is there an advantage to having them separate then if you can combine them?
So when it comes to wanting to be able to, all right. So first we'll do the difference between modem and router. Modem. It's essentially just talking to the internet provider and them giving you an address for the internet. Then the router takes that address, but then creates a subnetwork, and the subnetwork can be created without the internet. It just creates a network that all your devices can connect to, and it creates little addresses for them.
Like a LAN. So is a router how you would have like a LAN party if you didn't have internet?
Yes.
Oh, I always thought routers were, I guess what I'm learning a modem is.
Yeah, so a router, all it does is it creates a little network, and it gives each device on the network an address so that it can route it. And then when it connects to a modem, the modem says, hey, this is your address to the internet. So it's essentially just like another
it hooks you to
computer. To the modem, it's essentially like another computer. But it's saying, all right, anything coming from this address, let's say you're on a computer, and this is kind of an oversimplification, but you're on a computer and you say you want to go to facebook.com, right? Well, facebook.com translates into a number, an IP address. And so what your computer is doing is it's sending out a signal looking to your modem saying this is like where you want to go, and then that modem sends it to the router, which will then send it off into the big web, and then it comes back through your modem, through your router, and then it knows that this particular address was the one searching for what it was looking for, and sends it that way.
Okay. Does that all so fast?
Yes.
That's amazing.
And yeah.
Oh, I don't know what that. No. We did this one though. I can cross that off. We'll get to it.
Okay.
What is a virtual machine? How does that work?
Virtual machine is essentially a machine that is built on top of or inside a secondary. So let's see, how did it describe this? Okay. When you on your computer, you have the hardware for your computer, and then that hardware is used to when you install your operating system, let's say Windows. It says that or Windows will use the hardware for the operating system to work, and then you have a physical machine doing all the work for you. Well, there are programs that allow you to, once you have this program on, you can, and Windows is actually one of these programs, you can install a second, let's say, copy of Windows inside of it. And then you could actually tell it how much processing power that it has. Now, it can't exceed or even come close to what you have on the physical machine because it's limited by that. So it has to be a subset. Oh.
Sorry.
It has to be a subset of what your physical machine has. But what you could do is essentially, if you had a super powerful machine, you can have 5 different installs of Windows on it, and then those all be linked to, let's say let's say somebody had a really crap laptop, and they needed to use a fast computer, or even that what's better is they needed to connect to a company computer from inside the company. Well, instead of actually some companies, instead of actually giving them a computer, like a physical computer, well, they do have one, but they use that to connect to what is a virtual machine.
So it's as if they might have like one massive, really powerful computer, and then that one actually has all the processing and software for all of the individual users that use these like real hardware, but those hardwares don't have installed the guts. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so man, it's actually a lot more difficult to put into words than I was expecting it to be. So You have the computer with a bunch of window. Let's say it's Windows, like a bunch of windows. You have five employees, each with their own, each needing their own Windows copy, right? But you don't. To how a lot of companies want to keep everything localized into a singular storage space, or or it also might be easier for them to connect instead of setting up a virtual private network where their computers can connect from anywhere, they just are connecting to the virtual machine, but the computer that they're using is technically always on site at the location of the business, because it's a virtual machine. It doesn't really have a physical form that can leave the business. People can access it
via their physical machine, but those are separate computers. Okay, I think I'm getting it.
So maybe the best way I can explain this, what I had to do when I was creating your
first Mac thing?
First Mac thing was I had to create a Hackintosh. And so what I needed to do is, in order to do that, you need a computer that already runs Mac in order to build a Mac
operating system?
Yeah, a Mac install disk.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't have any computers that ran Mac, so what I did is I built a Mac computer inside my Windows computer using a virtual machine. So essentially, like, there was no obviously physical computer. It was using all the components that the Windows was using, but then I just used a program, installed Mac OS on it, and then had it run Mac, but it was just on a Windows machine. And then from there I was able to create a disk that allowed me to install it onto a physical hard drive.
See, and I didn't know before that. I remember that because I had no idea you could use Apple's operating system outside of Apple products. I don't know. That blew my mind when I saw you doing that. I didn't know. And then you called it a Hackintosh. I thought that was a cute name you gave to it at first. And then you were like, no, that's what it's called.
Yep.
Learn something new. Learn many things new. All right. So we talked about that. We talked about how it works. Goodness, we're probably winding down here. Do you want to do one more or call it a day?
Well, I have a few things to mention.
Yeah, we better stop there with all my questions for today. Give us those updates you were talking about.
Okay, so in news this week, first thing is tech news. The Xbox and PlayStation had a couple big announcements this week. Xbox announced a new Xbox One console that was called the Xbox One. Let me get this right. I think it was Special All Digital Edition.
Xbox One
Special All Digital, which is Xbox One SAD.
Sad. Oh, that's so much easier. Sad. Xbox.
And that game became a riot.
Instant meme.
Yeah, instant meme all
They
across.
memed it themselves.
Because and especially right now, I know everything is going like with the digital age, but especially with consoles, not a lot of people are ready to
because you don't want to download or stream. Is it called streaming?
You'd be downloading still.
So you would download what you want to play and
your hard
then
drive.
Play it, but you have to wait for it to download or have fast internet.
Yeah,
to make it any kind of enjoyable.
Not only that, but a lot of people that have consoles, they might not be in areas where internet is even accessible.
Right? Or it's extremely expensive to get any kind of usable.
Yeah, like one of the greatest things about a console is you can go out, you can buy a console with no knowledge of anything computer.
True. I mean,
and then you just buy a game that's for that console, you stick it in the thing, and it works.
I didn't know Steam Steam is like that major gaming platform that you get games from.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed. I'd never heard of it
Yeah.
until I met you.
And but even then, like even with the new generation of console, like that idea of you just buying a game and working oftentimes isn't the case anymore, because when you buy a game, you'll see that it needs a patch, or something like that, or the game won't work unless your system is updated, or it's not as convenient as it once used to be. And yeah, and this is not helping the cause.
Can I peek at your list? Are you gonna mention the Steam special thing from for Assassin's Creed?
Oh, that's already over.
It's over?
Yeah, we got it.
Well, that's cool, but
yeah, they only did it for like
so
a day.
short.
So a lot of these things are only like a day. They were giving Assassin's Creed Unity free
because of Notre Dame burning down and it being within the game. Yeah. Oh, I guess.
Yeah, usually they only do that for like a day.
Maybe I'll play it now that I've got it though.
It's Assassin's Creed's a great series.
Yeah, but time consuming, it seems.
Yeah,
I don't know that I.
It started off as a great series and then kind of sucked, especially with Unity.
Oh.
Unity is probably one of the worst ones.
And that's the one I've got.
And but we also have Black Flag, which which was back on the rise. And then
would I be wrong to guess that you have them all?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. Moving forward.
And then the other announcement was PlayStation. So Xbox came out with the Xbox SAD, and the PlayStation decided to one-up them by giving a tech demo of the PlayStation 5.
And they're calling it the PlayStation 5.
They haven't. They haven't announced it, but they should.
Sense. They should. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Don't go blue.
I don't think they need to change. They don't need to get
it.
I think their non-creativity is really helping out, because Xbox's creativity is really weird. You had the Xbox 360, Xbox One
comes after the others. Yeah, when you said the Xbox One, now they have the SAD version. Just
and
oh no, why is the one the third? Oh,
so I think so. We're just gonna call it PlayStation 5, as most anyone would do. And they announced, or they had a demo of Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game, and this PlayStation is going to support SSDs. Well, I guess the other one, you could get an SSD for the other one, but it was really I can't remember how that worked. I thought there was some weirdness to it. Anyways, this new one is going to come out of the box with SSD. So
that was literally the question I was writing. SSD. It wasn't okay. Yes. So they have SSD, but the old PlayStation 4 has a hard drive that spins and moves.
Yes.
So this will be much more durable, you're saying.
Not just durable, but they loaded the
there's more
Spider-Man game, and then they fast traveled on the PlayStation 4. The fast travel took like I can't remember. It was like 30 seconds or something like that. I maybe even closer to a minute. On the PlayStation 5 with the SSD, 0.08 seconds.
Wow.
That was the load, the load screen just flashed, and on Spider-Man they have those load scenes that are a little funny. I don't know, most people probably should never fast travel through Spider-Man, because swinging through the whole game is the whole point of the game. But if you do fast travel, there's a little scene of Spider-Man in the subway in his costume, and there's there's several scenes of him. Sometimes he's just playing on his phone while he's in the subway.
For him, it would really be slower travel.
And another one, the one that they had was a scene where he was chatting with somebody that was also in a Spider-Man costume. And it was funny. But so on the 0.8 second one, it just flashed for a second, and then it was just gone.
Wow.
And you're loaded in the game.
Sounds exciting.
So yeah, definitely is a lot more
When are we expecting?
No idea.
Oh.
Might be next year, might be a year after that, I'd assume. Because
so
like
long.
this is, they didn't give any specs. They said that it's going to be using AMD technology.
What is that?
AMD is a hardware manufacturer. They do processors and they do graphics cards.
Wish I could remember the other question. I just had another one for you.
So it's going to be using AMD technology. They did give a little bit of specs on that, actually. I don't remember them, but they did give some specs to it. But like, they don't have a case for it yet. They haven't figured out a design for it.
See, this is interesting to me that they haven't released the date, and maybe it is later this year. Maybe it's not too far off.
I don't think it's going to be, because again, they don't have. If it was later this year, they would have like a design. They would show off like a box or.
But when I had a PlayStation 3, and when PlayStation 4 came out, I was very reluctant. It was a long time before I got a PlayStation 4 because I didn't feel that they'd made enough advances to warrant a new machine. I mean, as far as I know, the biggest difference between a 3 and a 4 was how big of a map it could hold. What was there more I'm missing here? It seems like now there's more that's advanced.
There's definitely between PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, I think there was like 8 years before the 4 came out. Like, it was the longest console generation to exist.
It still didn't feel like there was significant upgrade. I mean, and I didn't even play like GTA. I think was the one that I remember everyone saying, "Oh, but the map is so." Was that the game that?
I mean, GTA was on PlayStation 3 as well. That was one of the ones that transitioned over.
Wasn't there some game that everyone said, like, you really need a PlayStation 4 to be able to handle it? Oh, maybe I'm just thinking of the bigger Minecraft maps. Those are much bigger.
Maybe.
On PlayStation 4.
I
don't know. I just...
When it comes to PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, there was a huge gap in technology, and it was
Really?
Yeah, the PlayStation 3 was getting obsolete almost. And not to mention, the PlayStation 3 had a unique architecture structure. So when most games and software, there's a architecture to how they're designed. This is a multifaceted hardware software component that generally most things fit under this either 32-bit or 64-bit architecture. PlayStation 3 came up with this new architecture system, which, albeit, was more efficient, but the problem was not very many things were built using that architecture. You had to kind of redo a lot in order to port games over to it. So if you made a game for Xbox and you wanted it for PlayStation, you had to do a lot more work to get it to run on PlayStation. And so ultimately, it was, in theory, a lot more powerful, but it ended up losing a lot of games because of this system. And but because of it, it did help the longevity because it was a more efficient system. However, the PlayStation 4 went back to the standard architecture that has been the default for most everything. And because of that, it was not able to physically be backward compatible with any PlayStation 3 games, which was a big downer. Fortunately, Xbox also said that at the launch that their games would not be backwards compatible. So that really helped out. Eventually, Xbox did get a bit of a lead on that kind of publicity because they were adding support for backwards compatible games over time, so that you could use your old Xbox games and play them on the new Xbox.
Oh, they did eventually.
They did eventually do it for most games that you want, and PlayStation just didn't have that option because of the way the PlayStation worked. Now the PlayStation 5 is, they said, I think at launch will be backwards compatible with all PlayStation 4 games.
So you can put any of your 4 discs in and it'll play them.
Yeah.
And it's not sad.
It's not sad.
I forgot what that stands for, but
All digital.
yeah, something is all digital.
Special all digital.
Oh, special. Did they really have to add the special?
Because
they're adding an adjective in the middle of a long chain of long words.
Because the Xbox One came out with special the Xbox One, then they had the Xbox One Special Edition. And now they have the Xbox One Special All Digital Edition.
Oh, see, I forgot the Xbox One was their third. For some reason, I thought you were back in time. This is a problem. Xbox needs to...
Oh, these are all just the same Xbox, but with different variations.
What was so special about the Special Edition? Anything?
I think there was like a little boost in hardware or something. Just like the PlayStation has the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Is the Pro the slim one?
They have a PlayStation 4 Slim too. But the Pro was slimmer than the PlayStation 4 originally was. And then the PlayStation 4 Slim was like a really slim one.
Okay.
And so back to that, PlayStation coming out with PlayStation 5, or an announced PlayStation 5 exists. And backwards compatible, better hardware, solid state drive. And next to the Xbox SAD, definitely pulling ahead. And the PlayStation 4 was outsold the Xbox One worldwide by huge numbers. So if Xbox doesn't pull ahead in this one, PlayStation might run with it and be unstoppable. Which I don't mind. I like PlayStation, so.
Yeah.
I only had an Xbox 360 because that's literally what everybody had, because the PlayStation 3 sucked in sales and nobody had a PlayStation 3.
I had a PlayStation.
I know, I had one too. I had an Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but because the PlayStation 3 did not sell and all my friends had Xbox, I just had to just eat it.
PlayStation 3 was the first console I ever had.
Mm-hmm. Although it did look better. A lot of games looked better on it. And so I would buy certain games specifically for the PlayStation because it looked great. I remember when PlayStation 3 came out.
Why did it look better? Was it?
Because it did have, I think, was that the one that had all... No, I think that was one of the newer ones. I think that was the one that had all graphics power. All DDR5 power and had no just standard memory. Maybe that was one of the Xbox. I can't remember. It was a very powerful machine along with the architecture, and it looked really good, but it just didn't sell because it was. I think I remember it came out. When it came out, it was like $600. It was one of the most expensive.
So, yeah,
Okay. Next on the news, the Samsung announced, or not even announced, they were ready for release on the Samsung Fold, which is the first foldable phone that's going to be on public release.
The first foldable, as if flip phones never happened.
Foldable full screen phone on public release, and then the reviewers got a hold of it, and within like 2 days, almost all the reviewers, all the major reviewers broke their phones. The LSD Fold. And it was interesting because they said like they tested like the thing over and over again. They showed like the machines of the Galaxy Fold just being flipped by machines 2,000 times. Like they were testing like
2,000's not that many times though. When you think about how much people, there's 365 days in a year. Most people are looking at their phone at least once an hour.
But it's even 2 days is not enough to hit 2,000 folds or more. Right. So it wasn't a problem.
People were breaking them because it's just probably not durable.
Generally they just didn't account for user error. Like people are not as efficient as open. Yeah. And the biggest thing, it wasn't dropped. It wasn't actually done like that. It was the fold in the middle.
Okay.
It seems to have a structural problem. when it comes to, so they came on top of it, the glass, there was like this little plastic lining. And MKBHD thought that was just a thin screen protector that often comes on phones. Especially Samsung, they have ones that are just designed for the screen itself instead of like sometimes they have like words on it. So he started peeling it, realized that it wasn't coming off like a normal screen protector, continued to peel it, and then the screen went black. And so that thinly veiled thing was actually more connected to the screen than we initially thought. Now, that was one person just being an idiot.
Overgeneralizing, oversimplifying you are, but go on.
I mean, like, it was...
I wouldn't say that's an idiot thing. Like, most people would see a small plastic lining on a brand new phone and assume this doesn't go here. Why is this? And then within 2 days, for a corner to even peel up, most people would peel that. I'd peel
Well, the corner didn't peel up. He just started peeling it. But there was another person...
It was notable enough that he could peel. Go on. Another person
did actually have the dust start removing the...
Within 2 days? That's insane.
Yeah. And third person, just at that same hinge where he was pulling up, the screen went black in that area. Like, it just cracked. Like, and with no physical damage outside of that. And
on the bright side, at least this all happened within that review period, because if they had been just even a little more durable, made it past like the 2-day thing or a few days, the trial period, made it into the hands of consumers would have, first of all, had a hell of a time with that. The company would have had a hell of a time. It just would have been bad.
Especially since it's a $2,000 phone.
Oh. Yeah. Back to the drawing board on that.
So, and just the other day it was announced that Samsung is now going to delay the release of the Samsung Folds for, I think, a month. But we'll see.
Wait, they're only delaying it a month?
Maybe it's easier to get fixed than we thought. That
sounds
have
like
more information.
So many problems. So many different...
Well, it's all the same route, though.
The Fold.
Yeah, like... Right? Yeah. So they might have had different iterations of it that were less or that were more durable but less cost effective or something. I don't know what the situation is, why it's only a month. I kind of think that it's not only going to be a month. I think it'll get delayed longer.
I think it would be back to the...
I don't know about that, because they said that this has been already 8 years. And the over iteration, and this is like
years they've been working on the folding phone.
Yeah, and so this, like, they finally got it to a point where they're comfortable at customer release. So I would imagine that they have some ideas as to what to do already. That might already be just like in production process, like production ready kind of ideas. Who knows though? We'll find out and see in a month.
I guess so. I'd like something that'll fit in my pocket though. I'm interested. I definitely am, but I don't want it breaking.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't get this phone. It was outside of just purely if I could review it.
Also the price tag.
Yeah, the price tag.
That alone is a nope. Nope.
And also, it's like the first generation of this kind of
and like
folding.
A decade once they get better at it. Then maybe I'll get one. Okay.
In a decade when
most of them are flip phones.
Yeah, everybody has a flip phone. You remember the flip phone Razor?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the really thin one. Well, there is a concept idea of that same design, but when you flip it open, it's all touchscreen. And it's just like you just have this, but you just fold it down.
Is that not what this one is?
No, this is a giant, almost tablet turned into phone size.
Oh.
You haven't seen the...
I haven't seen pictures, no.
Samsung
I was assuming
Fold?
it was like a phone like this that was a bit thinner and that you could fold in half to make it go in my pocket. That doesn't sound helpful. That's not going to fit in my pocket if it's still phone size.
Let's see here.
Definitely not going to fit in the fake pockets they put on most of our pants. Ooh, that is big looking.
Yeah, it's almost like tablet. Oh, here, this is better because this has...
Who is putting that in there? Wait, this person's hand is either abnormally large?
It's, I mean, it fits your hand when it's folded open.
Huh.
But it's, and then when it folds in half, it's kind of like an awkwardly thin phone. And then let's see. I don't know if I can show that. Oh yeah, that actually shows up pretty well.
Yeah. I'm not impressed. I don't know why you would spend $2,000 on that. That just doesn't, I mean, spending like $600 on today, by the way, today, March 22nd, pixels are half price. I'm so annoyed.
Pixel 3s?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, this is just a kind of a, almost like a little tease as to what might come in the future. Chrome OS seems to have a lot of slots at the Google I/O conference.
What?
Google I/O is where Google shows off all of its products. That's coming out.
I/O?
I don't remember. I don't know what it stands for.
It's their forum or?
It's their conference.
Okay.
And that's where they show off all the things that they're gonna be. Anyway, Chrome OS has a lot of slots on there, so there might be some interesting new Chrome OS updates coming in the next year.
Okay.
Google and Amazon Prime finally worked out their differences when it comes to their sales. And the thing that affects me most is that Chromecast support is coming to Prime Video on your phone. So
wait, on your phone?
Well, Prime Video is on your phone. So yeah, Chromecast support.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that you can push it from your phone to the Chromecast and watch on the TV.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is way better than having to use the PlayStation or your computer to do the exact same function. And then also in the deal, Amazon is going to be selling the Chrome or like Google Assistant stuff, like the Google Home and
the Home Mini and stuff.
Yeah, and Amazon, what they're getting YouTube back on the Fire Stick and YouTube support back on the Amazon Echoes and things like that.
All right, that sounds good. It's nice when they can play reasonably nice.
And then this is touching back on what we talked about last week, was the Facebook passwords.
Oh yeah.
So apparently, to top it off, Facebook had a post on how they found within their own data servers that the passwords were not being encrypted. They're fully visible for anybody that had access to the data servers, which would only be people working at Facebook. And they have no reason to suspect that anybody has actually seen anything.
But it's just poor practice, poor handling of a lot of things that they've gotten almost too big, it seems. That they're careless. Yikes. I mean, it could be worse. It could certainly be worse, but it's still not reassuring to know.
Yeah. So that just thought I'd throw that in, since yesterday we did talk, or last week we did talk about.
And in theory, the worst is like, okay, an employee of Facebook could get your Facebook password, which in theory shouldn't be terrible because it's just a Facebook account. But nowadays you can sign into almost everything with Facebook, and some people don't use different passwords for different things. If someone had the same password for their email as their Facebook, now it's vulnerable to that, and the Facebook people would easily be able to know the email if...
Yeah. So, that's the news for the week. And yeah, it was a busy week this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully you all enjoyed, and we will see you next week.
That's yeah.